On today's podcast, we'll bring back part 3 of our series with Jared Rolfes and the Bear Raid offense, hoping to bring this thing to a conclusion. This is Mark Holcomb, joined by Kirk Brown with the Football Coaches Corner podcast. Today on the podcast, we're talking with Oak Grove offensive coordinator Jared Rolfes. This is our third session in which we've talked triple option, variations and tags off the triple option, and today we're going to talk play action pass and RPO in the Bear Raid offense. A recording of our podcast will be available through the podcast vehicle of your choice, as well as the YouTube channel, Football Coaches Corner. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you like what you hear. We've had a great response with these last couple of ones. So, Coach Rolfes, welcome back. This seems like it's becoming a little bit of a pattern. So
yeah, Sunday nights, I'm kind of starting to look forward to this. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I'll have to find a different podcast or something.
Yeah,
Talk
I
about
think
something else.
we're gonna start this over with Coach Brown's got a couple of questions. We're gonna talk play action pass and RPO, and so let's get going, Coach Brown.
Yeah, so we'll jump right into it. Coach, talking about play action off of the triple stuff that we've talked about already, the veer, some counter things of that nature, belly. How do you construct your offensive line? How does that protection, get as close as it can to the run, but yet protect your quarterback whenever you're designing those?
Yeah, so I think obviously understanding that it's a completely layered system and we're trying to build things on top of other things to complement one another. So, there's a lot of stuff I won't be able to get into tonight in respect to how it's layered, but we'll get into two. Obviously, the first one is the play action pass, which is kind of what you're referencing right now. And so we actually use slide protection on that with a simulation in the backfield that's going to appear like it's triple option. So, whether we're in two backs or, we're motioning, getting the second back who's going to look like he's the pitch back. When we step down to that side, where we're kind of motioning or simulating our option phase to, it looks like we're down blocking most of the time. And obviously, as the play develops, it appears that, we're not, and we're pass prone, but it kind of sets up what we do.
Right. And when you're doing that, when you're sliding, is the quarterback taught to kind of change his launch point, or are you keeping him, right behind the center in that same, launch point as it would be from the run?
Yeah, so he takes like what we call lazy footwork and doesn't come downhill at all. And he engages slightly in the mesh, and then he actually takes almost like a 45, and then he gets real high on the vertical set. So he stays within the realm of the pocket. The tailback you'll see on film actually kind of fits and is the extra guy, obviously away from the slide. So he takes his fake and then he kind of forms. But what we found is most people, when they get that immediate, inside release by the tackle, what's an end going to do? He's going to step down with it. So he's not going to pass rush. Because that's the question I get all the time when people ask me at clinics and stuff about this. When I show it to them, well, how do you put a 150-pound back on a defensive end? I said, well, we don't really have to block him very long because he steps down, then he says, oh, it's pass. Then he comes upfield late, and we're just kind of engaged long enough at that point to make it work.
Right. Absolutely. And when you're using that protection, what's your go-to concept off of that? And I know, you'll show some film stuff, but just talk me through that.
Yeah, we do several, but I would say the one we got into the most, and it's probably the simplest, and it seems like it's kind of in a lot of different areas of our offense, is basically like a flood concept. It's like a version of sail, but we typically tag a post route on the outside guy by 1, then run a sail by 2, and then the third route comes from the backfield. So that, that pitch player is now a swing player, so you're getting a lot of movement to it. We've only thrown it to him, I think, once or twice, but obviously with the play action stuff in the backfield, but you're just creating movement from the defense. So that's probably our favorite one, is the sail with the post tag, and it's really flood at the end of the day.
Right. Pretty simple to teach.
Yeah.
And you've kind of answered this a little bit with how you've, talked about your protection and stuff, but do you feel like it's important to have, one pass protection with, many different concepts attached, or do you feel like it's good to maybe simulate belly, simulate counter, simulate inside veer, and then maybe have one concept off of that?
Yeah, I think that the more you can simulate, the better. And I think saying that, I think the caveat is, what can your kids handle when you're doing that? So, we have quite a few protections, and we're going to kind of even take this a different direction this year with some of the simulations, but like, we roll out quite a bit. We have drop back protection. We have our play action protection. We have boot protections. That sounds like a bunch, but a lot of them coincide. And then, as we go, they've kind of, compartmentalized a little bit and they fit into certain realms, and some we use more than others, obviously. So we spend more time on the ones we feel the most comfortable with and where we're going to spend most of our time. But I do think it's important to have kind of a layered system in that approach too.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach, I know a big thing now is making your play action pass, your RPO, and your quick game kind of the same routes. I know a lot of people do that. I know, we do stick and we do snag and we do hitches. All those are quick game. Is your RPO game probably the same as your quick game in terms of your routes?
Yeah, I would say 90% of it. Yeah, stick, snag, things like that, like you mentioned. We've played around with some deeper stuff that hits like a sail cut that hits around 10. Obviously you have to, kind of see how that develops with the offensive line being downfield and whatnot. But yeah, it's the ones we use the most coincide with our quick game, which is nice because it reduces the teaching. And I think that's what I've found, even going back to, if you look at what, Coach Brown was talking about with the play action, that's our favorite concept, the sail, which is really flood. We boot to that, we roll to that. You know what I mean? So it's like we're repeating it so many times, but the appearance of the defense is in a completely different scenario, even though we're trying to accomplish the same thing with the route combination.
Yeah, and I know I'm an O-line guy, and you guys are quarterback receiver guys, and I know you're doing tight ends now, but obviously the teaching progression too is if you're doing stick with a quick game, you're doing stick with your RPO. Again, it's decreasing the amount of stuff they have to learn. It's increasing the number of reps, and I think we've all learned that as we've been in this game a little bit. Is anything we can do to cross things over and increase our reps, we're going to be better off there. So
yeah, that's the one thing about, I think, where we got to last year is just everything crossed over so much that teaching was reduced dramatically. And I feel even more comfortable this year kind of doing the same thing. We introduce stuff at all, just initially teaching it might feel like a lot, but as you go, it's like it's all the same at the end of the day, and you just kind of piece it how you want it.
Yeah. All right, here's the big one now, and everybody's answer to RPOs are man. Now I know you guys run a lot of option, so you probably absolutely love it when you see guys at man. So I don't know if you're going to see as much man running triple, but do you have some go-to things that you're going to do when you see load the box, cover zero?
Yeah, I mean, I think really to answer that, like our RPO approach is totally different because it's RPO triple stuff. So like, I mentioned this a little bit last week, and we'll jump into this more tonight, but like, instead of pitching, we're throwing as an option for third phase. So it's set up drastically different than like, pop plays and deep post, second and third level RPO type stuff. Key screens and things like that are in the RPO category, but those are called based on numbers. So we get man, we don't do some of those things a certain way. So I would say if we do get man, we'll use motion and stuff a little bit more, bring the extra player from a different spot to try to outnumber them. But again, our approach is just different. So when you see the film, I guess it categorizes as RPO, but it's really a triple option. And I've found that even man teams, it just does not really change what we're doing. I just may bring the guy from a different spot.
Yeah, I know we've talked a couple of times during the season, and when you see man, you're pretty excited about it because everybody's got to be. They got to be really, really disciplined if they're going to play man. That's where the motions you guys do. So Coach Rolfes, you want to get into
sure
some of the play action and RPO stuff?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Let me share my screen here. You guys see that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's start with the triple to pass stuff, in regards to kind of where we're at there. So, for us, just philosophically, it allows us to be still triple option. It's identical to what we do in triple. We just don't pitch, we throw. You can pair it with anything that you do. I believe you can, because the NFL guys do this, college guys do this. Like, you can do this even if you don't base at a triple option. I was even trying to convince Mark to add this to his counter game with the crisscross counter stuff, bringing the back underneath a few weeks back. Because I think it's really, really easy. You just gain a number to a side. And again, it goes back to what, Mark asked about, is it within the realm of your stuff you already do pass wise? And it is, like, we run stick. So it already fits into that. So for us, it's the same dive read and all that stuff and pitch people as we normally do. We take our base pass stuff and we can create so much versatility with motion and formation, how we get to it. And this year we're going to be even probably more dynamic in that because we're going to be a lot different at tight end, and our extra tight end wing player are more receiver type kids historically that have become tight ends and are good at all that stuff. So it became a huge high percentage throw. You know, obviously people ask all the time, do you get called for a legal man downfield? We got called one time. Unfortunately, it was a touchdown in the playoffs in round 2. So it was late in the season, but we typically don't have trouble with that stuff. So let's jump in and kind of look at it. So this is the base way we do it. Obviously, it's just one formation, but just to give you an idea. So we would be calling inside veer to the right. So for us to the right, obviously we're reading the defensive end, you know, as a dive player, and then this is our pitch player. And I'll just be real, like our quarterback got so good at understanding like how to pre-snap, look on the edge, even though we taught it as a true triple read. I mean, he pulled it like every time and threw it, but he was completing it because the run action, you know, held the box and all that stuff. And we gave it sometimes, so don't get me wrong, but like he knew how to manipulate it in that regard. So then once you get on the edge, you bring the third route. So this is our stick concept. So we're going to go fade route here. And then our stick player works off the inside, short of the outside linebacker. And then we bring the third guy, which is a flat player from wherever. Typically it's from the backfield, our second back. We tag somebody to go back there, and then he comes on that shoot or arrow cut. And really we're working the exchange between the stick and the arrow. We did throw this one time for a touchdown because they blew the coverage, but we don't read this on this. We're really just reading this right here. I've seen some people, you know, work in a pre-snap backside, you know, gift route or something like that. You could do those things too. We don't do that currently, but that's kind of the base look. So let's look at some of the tape on this. All right, so this is game 1. So this was when it was pretty new to us. So we were trying to, you know, figure this goes back to what Mark said. This is man coverage, and they're putting everybody they can in the box, plus whoever they can pull from the sideline, I think. So we're going inside veer to the left. We're bringing the second back underneath, who's one of our quicker guys. This ends up being a give. Really good read by the quarterback. 12 kind of steps upfield. But if you look at the edge before we go to the end zone copy, you know, the back's going to get free, right? He's gonna win that battle on leverage because he's coming from a spot where you can't always know how to get him matched up on somebody, right? So that kind of defeats man sometimes. And they're so concerned about what's going on in the box. So
even if the safety gets there, who's trying to play man, he's going to be out leveraged because he's coming up to try to take the pitch away.
Yep. And you know, this pre-snap appearance, or you know, that even the post-snap, when we start to get in the mesh, I mean, everybody again is thinking, oh, we got to get to our triple responsibility. So that's what we found, even though, you know, our back's going underneath here, we motion to it. So really good look at it right there. Really nice job by the running back hitting the dive scheme underneath. So that's a good look early in the season. We played some teams that were, I guess, a little bit let me bump out of this real quick, a little bit unique in how they lined up. And so, you know, there were times like in this game, you know, they were basically a bare front and not really protecting the edge with any extra player. So I just told the quarterback, like, we're just going to wash everything down and just assume the pull and just get the ball right now out to the guy because there's nobody there for him, right? I mean, there's not an extra player there. So, you know, I think sometimes you got to be smart as a coach and just make your players look like they know what they're doing. And he would have figured that out, I'm sure. But we had this conversation early on the side, and we did this a bunch in this game, and we put different people back there. So here's a look at it. You know, when you're getting kind of a 5-down look, I mean, there's just no extra force player because that safety is going to account for the stick player, and there's nobody that's immediately on the edge to help. So you're +5, you know, or more automatically.
And well, there, if you were talking about a while ago, if you're 3-by-1, they're outnumbered already. And now you're just putting a guy there after the ball snap.
That's right.
They're still outnumbered. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And I know, Mark, you've always said, just in the time I've coached with you and just in general, like you love 3-by-1 because it's hard to line up to. But if you get to 3-by-1, it's hard to defensively get people where they need to be because you don't know they're getting to it. And that's why I like kind of how we do this, because it allows us to get an extra player there. Here it is to the right. So we're going inside veer to the right. And now we're putting our best receiver in the backfield. So this goes back to our formation manipulation. So again, all the eyes are in the backfield. If you look at the defenders right now, every bit of the secondary, they're looking in the backfield. So nobody has a clue 5's coming out. So now we have our fastest player in space. You know, he's +14, 15, whatever it is. And I mean, I would think everybody could find a quarterback that can make that throw. I mean, I don't know if that's real difficult.
And Coach,
so
something that
look at it.
You know, I've ran sticks similar to that, and I got burned a couple times with throwing the flat route and then the corner getting nosy and jumping on. And I know we talk about making that throw on the MOR or the go.
Sure.
Now I just have that guy block him. Like I just tell him, look, if it's man, run him off. If it's not, if it's zone, you got to block him. And even if we're throwing the ball out there, I mean, no one's going to say anything. And so I think, showing three get there fast, and then having the threat of the deep ball by one is good. I just have him block him.
Yeah, for sure. And that's an easy manipulation on stuff if that's what you prefer, for sure. Here's a really cool way we got to it, just more of a expanded set. And we would motion in like a jet look, and he is now going to become our flat player. So you're stick to the field. We're inside veer to the right here. Really nice read by the quarterback. Again, like he was really good at kind of manipulating stuff. So he kind of figured this thing out, had a lot of completions on this particular stuff. But here's a good look at him. I'm throwing at the 5 right now, but he hangs on the ball just to see what the outside linebackers are going to do and then posts it into the stick route. You could argue that either way. I mean, he gets a big play out of 5 or, gets +8 out of number 11. So we're in pretty good shape. So that's a good way, I think, that we found to do it. And we get to it a few different ways. Here's a good look at the read. He gets 26 to kind of jump inside.
He gets the DN and the linebacker both by, like you said, being smart enough to put the ball down in that guy's belly and ride it a little bit longer.
Yeah,
just helps it out.
And that is important, like the coaching points with the mesh, whether it's this stuff or the triple stuff, just really elongating the ride. And I think for the last 2 years, that's something that's really helped us as we've kind of gotten into the triple stuff in that regard. So here's a good look at from the backfield. This is a give. They kind of run into each other a little bit based on 11's course. But obviously, really nice read here by the quarterback. And then we're, getting our tailback downhill in one of our base calls. So it's kind of whatever you prefer in the running game. For us, it was inside veer. I think this year we'll probably pair it with a few different things as well. This was something that was pretty timeless. I mean, this was in every game we called this. This wasn't like a one-hit wonder or something that we used periodically. This was often. Here's a good look. You got your best receiver in the backfield. And again, like everybody had a plan for us because we line up in this. They're thinking, oh, we got to defend triple in some capacity. And you do, but it's just totally different. He gets a nice squeeze, and now backer obviously folds up underneath, and there's just nobody on the stick player at all. So, pretty simple, I think, from a teaching standpoint, once you kind of have your base runs in and you're, if you're running stick, the only teaching point obviously here is getting the second or the third route from the backfield sometimes to get there.
Well, we've talked about it again. You're talking about the same formation and then just dressing the formation up the next week, but we're in the exact same play. Everybody's back in the same spot. So reps again, giving a different presentation. And
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think I have it on here, but I mean, we did it out of double tight as well. We go double tight and go twins over and the tight end would become the flat player as well. So I mean, there's a few ways you can. This is the only time we got called for illegal man downfield. This time we actually are running our power scheme on this, so we're power blocking this up front. This was a part of our game plan. But again, I mean, it doesn't change what we're trying to accomplish. Really nice ride by the quarterback. Gets in space, gets the backer to move just enough from a pitch key standpoint. And the backer does a pretty good job initially, the outside guy. And then he sees the back out of the backfield, so he moves just enough. Now we got 11 in space, which is what we want. So again, we got called for illegal, and we were downfield. There's no doubt about it on this one. So you'll see that right here. We are way downfield. So that's the first time.
No, it's 2 yards. Come on, man.
Two and a half.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah. So that's kind of the core of it. I mean, so we get to it a bunch of different ways, but I mean, that stuff is really valuable. That's something that I really liked kind of getting into. And I think it really helped us just have, I guess, you can categorize it RPO or quick game, whatever. And the ball's coming out. So it's really nice just to get the ball in space and get it to people. All right. Transition to play action pass.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's talk this. So this was a slow burn putting this together because it kind of goes back to Coach Brown's question about how many protections do you carry. We got through the spring and I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of stuff we were doing, not in a bad way, but just like, man, this is a lot of teaching and let's make sure we're good at A, B, and C. But then I could also see the big picture of like where we were going. And then it goes back to that old adage of like, the systems that kind of coincide and are layered enough where you can have play action and boot and things that just look the same. And I was like, we have to find a way to make this look like we're doing triple stuff or whatever our base runs are. So a lot of the coastal stuff I really liked from when Chadwell and those guys were there, and I looked at the footwork and how they taught the play action to make it look like triple, but then I just didn't really like how they were protected. It was more like cut protection. I didn't feel like it really sold the run. So we just kind of dabbled and tried this slide stuff, and it ended up working out really, really well. So backfield simulation, we're trying to make it look like triple. The pitch player becomes the third route in most of our concepts. He's a swing player. Again, like I said, we use slide protection, and the running back after his dive fake was the backside fitter on the slide away. I mean, you can tag anything you want. It's really a two-man concept with a flat route from the swing player. So double post wheel, curl wheel, curl. I mean, whatever. I mean, you just can go whatever you like. That's what I think what's nice about it. We found a couple that we liked and kind of rolled with them. I think that'll expand a little bit this year, and we'll kind of assess what our quarterback can do. Big play potential. If you got a kid who can run, we put our kid and we put him on post routes a lot, and then our next best guy would be running the deep out or something underneath him. So that was hard on defenses, I think, at times as well. And our primary ways were just cross and sail for the most part. I'm going to get into sail a little bit. So we were trying to get as many defenders as we could into the box or to be attracted to what appeared to look like run. The only thing bad about this drawing is this tailback is here, and then he's actually fitting off this backside. It's poorly drawn by me in that regard. So this would be our sail with a post version. So we're going to take our X and we're going to slam him on a post, and we're just going to try to win behind a safety, right? So then our sail cut is taught basically two different ways. If we get like a zone look and it's not an immediate attached defender, we're going to run more of like the speed cut into the hole. But if we get an attached defender, we're going to break that thing hard at about 12 yards just to try to win on a man cut. Our backside player, which is in this case the tight end, is going to sit over the ball at 12. He could be out here as an expanded guy too and sit. We never got to him. Never really had to based on how this was set up. And in the backfield, we make a protection call, which is slide to the right. And then we simulate as the next part of the play call, we simulate, for us, inside veer to the left. And so he takes his run fake, and then he's going to fit off the backside edge and take anything that leaks. And it really just performed or created a natural cup for the quarterback, because the quarterback's going to take his fake, and then he's going to take angled footwork on slightly a 45, and then he kind of flips his hips and he sets right here. So he's kind of still inside that pocket. And then this guy's obviously simulating pitch, and he becomes a swing player. So this, protection-wise and how we piece the play call together, we could kind of set this up a bunch of different ways, which was kind of nice. So I'm going to go through.
Well, the nice thing about this too is your quarterback is seeing the pressure. So he's going to see it. It's in his face. So it's not like feels like somebody's coming from behind him on the pressure.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. So this was play one. There was I think we had a turnover or something. This was early in the game's first possession, and so this was not on the play sheet at all to call as the first play, but it worked. So obviously it was a good first play call. But we knew we had him in a situation. We knew our outside guy could run. So here's a good setup of the call. So we're going inside veer simulation to the right, slide left, and we're going sail with a post route by number 1. So quarterback on this is early in the season, so his footwork's not as good as it gets later. It's not bad by any means, but really let's watch the quarterback first, and then we'll come back to the defense. So, again, if you get that, you're thinking run right now. I mean, the ball's in the belly. Now he's going to take that high angle, and then he's going to set up. So you got your swing player working out. There's your back fitting on the front side edge away from the slide protection, tight end over the ball, speed cut working into the hole, and now we got a post developing over the top. So we're reading this up top to down, basically, so high to low. So if he knows the safety is going to trigger, we don't care about the corner. We're expecting that guy to beat him. We just let it rip. So this is a really good clip. Not bad footwork here by the quarterback, but it does get better as the season goes on. But you can see the protection, but really study the defense, right? So watch the defense right here. I mean, we have gotten 8+ defenders, in a position where they're attracted to where the ball's not going. And that's what you want in play action, right? I think that's the hard thing in spread football anymore is it's hard to get true play action looks, in respect to how spread stuff set up being in the gun.
And you got a bunch, you don't have to block it as long because you got a bunch of guys chasing the pitch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the beauty of it. And again, like on this clip, you'll see what their plan was for option once we kind of developed the play. So there's their plan for option, right? You're getting a squeeze scrape over the top. These guys are playing hard down, but that gives us the hole behind it. And this goes back to what you're saying, Coach Brown, about this trigger player, is he going to come down on a route that comes out? Well, we know we've got the post route over the top. And that's our first look anyways. So this is a really good throw, really good route by the sail player, just getting into the space. Super easy. Slide protection, obviously. I don't have the back shot of this, but same procedure. You can see the running back, right? He doesn't have to do much because it's not a true pass rush.
Right. And so, my question was going to be about the post is, how are you coaching that? Is it just to win? Is it just to get inside leverage? But right here, it's just to win. I used to have a coach talk about, get to 43 on the hash, and just keep running.
Yep.
And that's what this route is. And that lets him run full speed and just let that guy lead him.
100%. Here's another same game, another clip. Again, like anytime we get behind people, it's really, really tough. Again, you can see they're playing for option. Back doesn't have to do much. They obviously are misaligned and their coverage is blown. So, pretty good scenario there for us. This was dropped, but again, I try not to always show the good clips, but this is a good clip in respect to how it forces the defense to react. So watch the defense. Really good job by the quarterback here. Flips his hips. Outside linebacker is past the line of scrimmage. Now we're running the sail cut into his space.
Right.
Now we drop it, but again.
But they're in 4 deep. They're in 4 deep too, and you're still getting. You're still getting guys open.
You have the post too if he was able to flip it and get there too.
100%. Here's a good look at the protection aspect of it too.
Yeah, that's a good job by the left tackle of getting big and not just flying down the line to chase bodies.
Yep. And that required some teaching a little bit to get him comfortable, like stepping down and not worrying so much about that outside player. Because obviously, again, we had a back assigned to him. So that's important as well. Here's another one. This team was in the playoffs, had, a relatively good plan. They were playing hard down. So we were trying to, you get a backside corner blitz here, and we don't pick it up, but fortunately we get the ball out and he gets kind of hammered. But you can see on the front side of the route, there's nobody in the hole because they're playing the corner down. The outside backer's playing pretty low. We're running the safety out, and we've got a really nice spot for the ball. So here, you can look at the protection from the backside again.
Coach, question real quick. With you being so run heavy with the triple stuff, this was always my question. Like, how do you simulate this in Skelly? Because we all know you go to 7-on-7 or Skelly, linebackers are dropping regardless of what running back action you're showing. Was that something where you sprinkled it more into team and you did more quick game drop back in Skelly? How did that look?
Yeah, we did a lot of this on our routes on air or team.
Yep.
Yeah, every scout team in America is terrible. So, you're not going to get a good look. So, yeah, that's a great question. We still ran it during Skelly, but obviously you're not going to get the run action and simulation.
Right.
The games is where the scrimmages in the games, I was like, whoa, like, wow, this is crazy. Like how this is, when we scrimmaged Reagan and we ran the cross version of this, and nobody covered the cross in the middle of the field. And I was like, okay, I think this stuff's going to work. So we just kept kind of pushing it a little bit and kind of rolled through game 1 and 2. We got man a lot in that game, so it wasn't early on. It wasn't as effective, but as we went, super effective. Here's a good look at it right here. Protection's pretty. That's a backside corner. We just don't see it, but the protection's simple. So that's that's something that makes it simple from the standpoint of making it look like stuff you already do and whatnot. So yeah, that's simple stuff for us, but it really fits into that old school philosophy of having a layered approach. And if you're going to be a team that gets the running game going, you got to have something that allows you to get over the top, and it protects a high school quarterback. I don't know if you guys get elite quarterbacks, but I've coached a couple really, really good ones. But they're all in a certain category typically, and you roll with them when you get them. But you want to make them as successful as possible. And I think these two things we covered tonight has really helped. Really expedite our quarterback progress too with the kid we had. I think it allowed him to have a lot more success in the passing game.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we appreciate part 3 and parts 1 and 2, obviously too. Guys, give Coach Rolfes a follow on Twitter or X, and that's at Jared Rolfes, JaredRolfes. We want to thank everybody for listening to the Football Coaches Corner podcast or watching our YouTube channel. We invite you to visit our website, which is www.footballcoachescorner.com for some free downloads. Also, email us if you have questions. Our email is fbcoachescorner@gmail.com or DM us at Twitter or X at FBCoachesCorner if you have any questions or thoughts about our podcast. I know Coach would be willing to share. We've talked about that many times. We want to include you and your thoughts and questions to help you run your program as maximally as efficient as you can. And our goal is to make this podcast a place where coaches can come and collaborate. So coaches, until next time, continue to coach with pride, passion, and a purpose.